seeing a lot of podcasters at the moment and hearing a lot of people talk about the nature of reality and reframing it in a way that says they're focusing on the positive, which is something have said in a lot of videos. It's very important at this time, is to reframe reality in a way that we can look at it in a positive sense, but not at the expense of of losing sight of the shadow that is around us and that is with us, and the ancestral traumas, the personal traumas, the collective traumas that are happening around us at the same time. We cannot not acknowledge these forces at play, because this is the balance of light and dark. You find in the yin yang symbol, there's always been a balance of light and dark. And sometimes the tide moves in one direction, in the darkness, or in the light in the other direction. The tide will move within that paradigm of the light and the dark. And you'll have times when it's much more darker than it is lighter, or lighter than it is darker. And I see a lot of podcasters who are focusing on this potential future. I say potential because it is all in potential. Nothing is set in stone in regards to future time. There are many timelines in my perception that are all floating about in front of us, none of them solidified in regards to this reality's trajectory. And all those timelines are actually all on some level will exist. But the question is, will those timelines? And you see this a lot in cinema. You see this a lot now projected through propaganda, through cinema and media. Marvel comics are a classic example of that. The whole multiverse theory through the Doctor Strange movies and the Avengers Infinity Wars. You see these timelines. Spider-Man No Way Home. You see these timelines begin to this idea of timelines and multiverse theory playing itself out and it's basically showing us the truth, right? Playing itself out through art imitating life. What we're having in the situation I see right now is an experience where we have a lot of people that I've seen, who I follow on the internet, and using my own discernment, I look at these people and think, well, you're just focusing on a very, very linear but also a very small aspect of a very big picture, and then you're portraying it as being the reality that's manifesting around us. Almost in some way, they're projecting out into the consciousness of the collective consciousness, their perception of how they want the world to be created on some level, right? They are focusing and reframing reality in a very positive way, but at the same time ignoring the house that's burning all around them. They are standing in a house that's burning around them, saying, it's so warm in here, and the light is so bright, until a piece of timber that's burning above their heads falls down and knocks them unconscious, and they wake up in the 8th sphere. In my perception, at least, anyway. So, to me, it's so important to acknowledge the darkness that is in our personal being, our personal consciousness, our ancestral traumas, our personal traumas, and the collective trauma, the collective consciousness. Because in order for us to move through into a place of greater healing, we have to take in our own shadows and heal our shadows, because that is what it binds us to being where we are and brings us back into the past, is that trauma, is the shadow. And in the present, it is the shadow that binds us to the present as well. To go to a place where you're projecting out to the world how it's all, how the multiple levels of multidimensional chess have been played out. You're focusing on one tiny little aspect of that. They're saying this is how reality is going to be. This is where we're going to. This is what's taking place. Yet acknowledging, not acknowledging the same breath that millions of people all around the world are dying due to a medical procedure they've taken. And that consciousness is being harvested, in my perception. I'm not alone here. It's been harvested and taken into the 8th sphere, and ignoring that is fucking dangerous. And it's stupid, in my perception as well. I really feel that. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're giving people a picture of reality that they can bind to eagerly, happily. yet at the same time not giving them the chance to turn around, look behind them, and see the shadow, see that they are casting a fucking shadow at the same time. It's so important. We have to acknowledge that we're casting shadows. And there's a shadow cast by the collective of humanity. And if you get more and more psychic and more empathic, you begin to feel that, you begin to see it in your everyday existence. You begin to see that shadow being cast everywhere you go, as much as you see the light. And that's the nature of the game. If you looked at the Taoists, had a symbol for it, yin and yang, the light and the dark are in balance. You have to acknowledge this. And my perception, once again, I talk about my perception because I cannot tell anybody how to live their lives. It's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying that there has to be an ability to be able to focus on both the darkness and the light and be still in those moments. To find the stillness in those moments when we focus on the light and the darkness and move from there. And some of the astrologers I heard talking about this particular time, they were talking about this particular movement into this more positive aspect and all the great things that are happening right now. One of them actually said this, which was for me, was her saving grace. And she said, yes, we have to come to a place of stillness within ourselves in order to move from there so we can acknowledge the fucking fact that we have the shadow and the light. That's it. We have to come to the place of stillness and not be rocked by what's happening around us. I totally get that as well. In that place of non-reactiveness and a place of response, we move from our hearts. And that's the most important aspect of this moment in time. Because shit's going to get fucking crazy. It's going to get crazier than we could ever imagine the next couple of years. Because the system and the players within that system, men and women and non-men and women, non-terrestrial, non-human form beings that control this paradigm and this simulation, they're not going to go down without a fight. They're not going to go down without a fight. When the ship sinks and the structures begin to crumble, they're going to reveal themselves to us. It's the nature of the game. Everything covert has to become overt. And David Icke said this 30 years ago. And he's so on point. Jordan Maxwell, 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. So on point. It has to come to the surface, has to break the surface, has to become overt. And that's it. It will become overt. And you will see the players. The players will make themselves known to us. When that happens, it becomes really fucking dark. It's going to get darker before it gets lighter. And it's all very well to create and to regenerate and to create these new paradigms, these new movements, these new grassroots movements, to look at and reframe reality in a positive sense. But we have to acknowledge the darkness. It has to be brought to balance. It's so important right now. Please don't forget this. Don't get immersed in it, but acknowledge it and look for a way to heal it. It's so important. So important right now. Embrace both the light and the dark and heal. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te wa. I'll see you again soon.